Let's begin with a story. A modern tragedy, really. Meet Susan, a parent trying to do the right thing. It's late August, the air is thick with the scent of freshly sharpened pencils and parental desperation, and Susan is on a mission. Her daughter Chloe doesn't just want any backpack. No, that would be far too simple. Chloe needs a very specific glow-in-the-dark unicorn-themed backpack she saw on a niche e-commerce site. A site that, unbeknownst to Susan, ships its magical wares from a small workshop in rural Ohio. Susan clicks buy, enters her credit card details, and breathes a sigh of relief. The backpack is ordered, victory is hers, or so she thinks. Days turn into a week turns into 2, school starts. Chloe is forced to carry her books in a drab, unicornless tote bag, a mark of deep, existential shame in the 3rd grade. Susan frantically checks the tracking number, only to find it's been stuck in a mysterious limbo for 12 days, flagged at customs in Frankfurt with a cryptic message, held for administrative review. What Susan has stumbled into, completely by accident, is a global economic slap fight playing out on the grandest stage imaginable, with her daughter's scholastic happiness as an innocent casualty. She didn't want a lesson in international trade policy, she just wanted a bag with a sparkly horn. But thanks to a series of bewildering decisions made by people in very expensive suits, that simple transaction has become an international incident. Her plight is now the plight of millions, a silent scream into the void of an unanswered customer service email. So, how did we get here? How do we arrive at a point where a simple online purchase becomes a high-stakes gamble? It all starts with a little word that sounds incredibly boring but has the power to cause immense chaos. Tariffs. Think of a tariff as a tax, or a cover charge that a country slaps on stuff coming in from another country. The idea, at least in theory, is to make foreign goods more expensive, which is supposed to make you buy stuff made in your own country. It's like your dad putting a $5 fee on any pizza you order from outside the house. He wants you to eat the questionable leftovers he made last Tuesday. You might just pay the fee, or you might choke down the 3-day-old meatloaf. A few years back, then-President Donald Trump decided other countries, especially China, were being unfair. He initiated what can only be called a tariff tantrum. He started slapping taxes on a whole host of goods coming into the United States. Steel, aluminum, electronics, clothing. The logic: protect American jobs and force other countries to play fair. In reality, it was like starting a food fight in the global cafeteria. Other countries flung mashed potatoes back. They imposed their own tariffs on American goods, and suddenly everyone was covered in economic gravy. What does this have to do with your kids' school supplies? The trade war soon ensnared everyday products. Think about where your stuff comes from. That backpack might be from an American brand, the fabric could be from China, the zippers from Vietnam, the plastic buckles from Malaysia, all assembled in the United States before being shipped out. Faced with this tidal wave of American tariffs and the ensuing chaos, other parts of the world had to respond, and their response, particularly in the European Union and Australia, has been less of a let's talk this out and more of a build a giant wall of paperwork and see what happens. They didn't just impose retaliatory tariffs, they changed how they handle incoming parcels, especially from online sellers. The goal was twofold: first, to collect the new taxes, and second, to send a very clear passive-aggressive message back to the United States. The result? The Great Parcel Pile-Up. The EU rolled out new VAT rules. Before, low-value shipments were often exempt. Now, every single item is subject to VAT. Example, a $1 eraser. Example, a $50 backpack. So every parcel must be declared, have its value assessed, and the correct tax calculated and paid. Big companies like Amazon can manage this. Small Etsy sellers often can't. Many sellers stopped shipping to the EU. Australia did the same with GST. Overseas businesses must register for GST and collect GST on low-value items. It sounds fair on the surface, but in the trade war context it became another layer of complexity. Customs in the EU and Australia are understaffed and overworked. They must verify declared values, check for prohibited items under new tariff codes, and ensure taxes are paid. If there's even a tiny discrepancy, the parcel gets flagged and sent to a dusty corner of a warehouse. This is why Susan's backpack is stuck in Frankfurt. The customs officer who scanned it likely saw a value declaration that didn't perfectly match the new rules. The real-world impact of this parcel purgatory is felt most acutely by ordinary people who have absolutely no stake in international trade disputes. Let's go back to parents. Students. The back-to-school season is already a stressful and expensive time. Parents are trying to find specific items on a school-mandated list, while also trying to satisfy their children's desires for things that express their personality. For many, online shopping was the solution. It offered more choice, better prices, and the convenience of avoiding crowded stores. Now that convenience has been replaced with profound uncertainty. The very tools meant to make life easier have become a source of anxiety and frustration. Consider the practical examples. A student with sensory issues might need a chewable pencil topper, a weighted lap pad, often only available from specialized US online retailers. When that package gets stuck in customs in Sydney for 3 weeks, it's not just an inconvenience, it directly impacts that child's ability to learn and cope in class. Or think of a high school art student who needs a particular brand of acrylic paint for their portfolio, a brand their local store doesn't carry. They order it from a United States supplier only for it to be held up indefinitely. Their project deadline passes, their grade suffers, and their creative ambitions are stymied by a VAT regulation they never even knew existed. The financial strain is another significant factor. While parents and students are facing the frustrating consequences, the small businesses on the other side of the transaction are facing an existential threat. Imagine you run a small company out of your garage in Wisconsin. You design and sell unique, high-quality notebooks with covers featuring local artists. For years, a significant portion of your business has come from international customers in Europe and Australia who discovered your products on Instagram or Etsy. Life was good. You were a plucky entrepreneur, a global success story in miniature. Then overnight, the rules changed, and your business model was shattered. It's like being a successful fisherman and then waking up to find someone has drained the ocean. First, there's the bureaucratic mountain you have to climb. To comply with the new EU and Australian rules, you now need to register for foreign tax identification numbers. Understand the VAT or GST rates for dozens of different countries and product categories, and implement a system to collect and remit these taxes. This is a monumental task for a one-person operation. It requires time, expertise, and often expensive accounting software or services. Many small business owners look at this new administrative burden and come to a very logical conclusion. It's simply not worth it. They are forced to cut off a huge chunk of their customer base, effectively putting up a "Close to Europe and Australia" sign on their digital storefront. Then there is the financial fallout from the parcels that do get stopped. When a package is returned to you 3 months after you sent it, you're out the original cost of shipping. You're also often charged for the return shipping. Then you have to issue a full refund to the angry, disappointed customer who, through no fault of your own, never received their item. So you're a parent in Leon or Melbourne and you still need to get your hands on that specific brand of ergonomic pencil grips from the United States. What can you possibly do? Giving up is an option, of course, but it's a deeply unsatisfying one. The first and most crucial piece of advice is to do your homework before you click buy. This isn't just casual shopping anymore, it's a strategic operation. Before purchasing from any international site, especially one based in the United States, you need to become a bit of a detective. Scour the website for a shipping policy page or an FAQ section. Look for any mention of how they handle VAT or GST for EU customers or Australian customers. A reputable and experienced international seller will now have systems in place. They will either use a service like Etsy that collects the tax at checkout, or they will state clearly that the buyer is responsible for all customs duties and taxes upon arrival. This is known as delivery duty unpaid or DDU. If you see this, be prepared for a second bill. A good rule of thumb is to assume you will have to pay your country's standard VAT or GST rate on the total cost of the item plus shipping, and then add a potential handling fee from your local postal service, which can be a flat rate of anywhere from 10 to 20 euros or dollars. If the seller's website says nothing at all about this, treat it as a giant red flag. Looking ahead, the big question is whether this mess will ever get sorted out. The future of global shipping and e-commerce hinges on political will. United States, European Union, Australia. The core of the problem remains the tariffs and the retaliatory measures they sparked. For things to return to any semblance of normalcy, there needs to be a de-escalation. That means complex negotiations, diplomats sitting down to hash out new agreements. We could see a gradual rollback of the Trump-era tariffs, which might lead the EU and others to ease strict customs enforcement. But this is a slow, grinding process that can take years. In the meantime, the world will adapt to a more fractured reality. Technology will play a huge role, more software, more third-party logistics companies. They'll offer solutions for small businesses to navigate international taxes and customs. Services will automate the paperwork. They'll calculate taxes at the point of sale, and they'll make parcels customs ready before shipment. That adds cost to doing business, likely passed to consumers, but makes international shipping more predictable and reliable. The era of cheap, frictionless cross-border shipping may be over for good. Expect a shift in global supply chains. U.S. small businesses may look for fulfillment centers abroad, within the EU or in Australia. In the end, the story of the missing back-to-school supplies is more than just a tale of consumer frustration. It is a perfect, albeit infuriating, illustration of how abstract political decisions can have deeply personal and tangible consequences. The trade wars, launched with bold proclamations about protecting national interests, have devolved into a chaotic system. That system punishes the smallest and most vulnerable. A family trying to prepare for the school year, a child excited for a new pencil case, a small business owner trying to make a living. It's a clear demonstration that in our interconnected world, you can't just throw a rock into the global pond without causing ripples. The great parcel pileup has exposed the fragility of the global e-commerce system we had all come to take for granted. The dream of a borderless digital marketplace where you could buy anything from anywhere with a simple click has collided with the harsh reality of nationalism and protectionist policies. The internet may have no borders, but the physical world certainly does. Those borders are now being enforced with a renewed, paper-pushing vigor. The fallout has been a loss of choice for consumers, a loss of revenue for entrepreneurs, a universal increase in stress and uncertainty for everyone involved in the simple act of buying and selling something online. As we move forward, the path to a solution remains long and cluttered with obstacles. There may be technological fixes and strategic adaptations, but the fundamental problem is political, and it requires a political solution. It requires recognition that broad-stroke tariff policies often create more problems than they solve, ensnaring innocent bystanders. Until that happens, the onus falls on us, the shoppers and the sellers. More diligent, more patient, more aware of the complex journey a simple package must take to get from one side of the world to the other.